Howdy everyone, that media guy here, and I thought that for this week we could do a bit of a discussion video on a topic that, yes, is a few years old, but I mean, since I am kind of the VeggieTales, coming a VeggieTales channel, there's a few of them out there, and also this topic, I don't want to say it's the biggest thing to come out about VeggieTales in the past few years, since we've had the VeggieTales show and the new podcast and all of that. But kind of, I guess, the biggest controversy that VeggieTales has ever had. Since there's a lot of drama out there these days, so I thought we'd talk about the drama that surrounded VeggieTales back in late 2018, and that is that college students suggest the popular Christian kid show VeggieTales is racist. Oh my, what does this Business Insider article have to say about this? Let's take a look. Um, Okay, so we got bullet points. I guess we'll just go through these. Students at California State University said that VeggieTales is racist. Uh, California State University saying that VeggieTales is racist. Can't wait for the article next year, stating that the University of Florida claimed that VeggieTales is woke. Um, all right, because the villains in the show use ethnic accents while the heroes sound white. Yeah, it's not about how these characters look, it's about how they sound. Again, we'll probably get more into that in the article down below. Actually was part of a recent whiteness forum held for the class, The Communication of Whiteness. This sounds wrong to me. I've never been to California, for the record. The furthest west I've ever gotten is Phoenix, Arizona. So someone who lives, I mean, I grew up in Illinois, the suburbs of Chicago, which were pretty swing counties leaning blue. The county I went to college was swing county leading red, and now I'm in a swing state altogether in North Carolina. It's funny, racism aligns with politics, and I'll get more into stuff on racism later. These are just the bullet points. Um, Anyways, lead characters in VeggieTales are a red tomato named Bob and a cucumber named Larry. Okay. What does this have to do with VeggieTales being racist? Yes, Bob is a red tomato because tomatoes are red, and Larry is a green. Okay, it doesn't even say green. What the heck? Okay. Um, all right. I like how it says recommends waking up with morning brew, which I've heard is really good. Maybe I should try that out. All right. Students at California State University San Marcos argued at a whiteness forum VeggieTales is racist because villains use non-white sounding accents. All right, yeah, we kind of already went over that. Forum held last Thursday. The communication of whiteness. Dream Moon. Okay, she's the one teaching this. For the event, students presented projects including white avoidance, civilized versus uncivilized, kill the land, kill the Indian, white women's role in white supremacy, gun owner. What is this? These are, I guess these are real projects from California. It, Forgive me, but I know I can't help but get some of my opinions wrapped into this video, but this just screams the epitome of the get woke, go broke culture that is just it's something all right. But then again, as I alluded to with Florida, they kind of have the opposite problem where, they're all like racism doesn't exist. If if there's any evidence of it, they try to sweep it under the rug, to try to, get people to not see the fact that there's a bunch of alt-right people in these bright red states and that they're a part of the problem. But it's kind of a two-way street. I want to uh, take the centrist view, I guess, because I see problems on both sides. Anyways, I'll keep going. Um, this project about VeggieTales, a student who worked on the present, and the evil characters of the show sound like they were from Latino or other minority backgrounds, while the heroes of the show sound white. Um, all right. So I guess they're referring to well, we see Mr. Nezer right here. Um, and there's the whole thing about him being an African American stereotype. And this was a problem when the Netflix show came around and they had to replace Mr. Nezer with Ickabeezer, basically the exact same character archetype, but without the African American stereotype. And then when the VeggieTales show came around, I believe he had the traditional voice by Phil Vischer for some episodes. He definitely had the traditional voice in the teaser. I haven't seen that much of the VeggieTales show, to be completely honest. Um, but yeah, his voice didn't stay for all that long. Because it was seen as seen as bad. I think the thing to realize with Mr. Nezer is that you have to look at intentions when you're trying to figure out racism. Mr. Nezer was not created by Phil Fisher because Phil Fisher was like, oh, he's going to be the bad character, so therefore he's going to have a black sounding voice because black people are bad. No, Mr. Nezer is based off of Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Mr. Nezer well, he's based off of that character because Phil really enjoyed his performance. He thought that would be fitting for one of his characters. He did it because he liked the performance that a black man, I believe his name is Ken Page, gave to Oogie Boogie. You know, and that way it could be spun as it's a positive. And trust me, we'll get more into Phil Vischer later for sure. Um, but yeah, I just find that really interesting. Um, and I think the other thing to consider is that Mr. Nezer, at least in his first two appearances, you know, obviously he's going to have plenty more appearances, but when I think of Mr. Nezer, I think of the episodes that I grew up with in the 90s, the Rack Shack and Benny, which I have go check out my review for that, shameless plug, as well as The Toy That Saved Christmas, which um, script for that review is done a little longer than I expected, actually, over 2,500 spoken words, and I've started working on the visuals. But anyways, not to get too off topic, too off track. Mr. Nezer gets redeemed in both of those episodes. Odes. In the first episode, you know, it's he comes around very quickly and gets asks for forgiveness for trying to throw Rakshak and Benny into a blazing fiery furnace. So which is quite the turnaround. And then in the Toy That Saved Christmas, he turns around so hard that he ends up nearly dying trying to save the Bob, Larry, and Junior who are going off of a cliff. And for the record, this is a different Nezer. It's Wally P. Nezer back when they were trying to distinguish these things before they ended up giving up. But yeah, so he becomes a very redeemed and even noble person at the end of The Toy That Saved Christmas. So if he's saying that these people, if there's racism here, well, he seems to redeem them and think better of them by the end of the episode. So that's something that shouldn't be overlooked. And then they mentioned Latino, Mr. Lunt, Mr. Nezer's henchmen in the two episodes that I mentioned. Again, based on a pre-existing character. This time it's the henchman. I don't know what his name is. I've never seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I know I might get crucified for that, but no, I haven't seen that, and that's what he's based on. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? It's another one where Phil Vischer's like, I like this performance. He's taking inspiration from these characters. He's not shunning these characters. He wants to incorporate the show to pay respect to them. This article is completely missing the nuance there. I don't. All right, I'll keep going. The project titled "Christian in the Church" said that whiteness in the Bible is seen as good. What? Okay, okay, it's one thing to talk about VeggieTales as promoting whiteness as it's created in a Western world where a lot of people are white, but the Bible takes place in Africa and the Middle East. To quote Cell Specs, Jesus probably did not have the skin pigment equivalent to Olaf. If whiteness doesn't exist in the Bible because it wasn't in the region where that was a thing. This is just so baffling to me. All right, so down here we have When kids see the good white character triumph over the bad person of color character, they are taught that white is right and minorities are the source of evil, as the project stated. I mean, yeah, I think that's a logical inference to make. But again, there's more nuance to that. Lead characters from the show. I just read that. Okay. The show's villains include a zucchini named Mr. Nezer and a group of peas called the French peas, which speak in broken French accents. Um, Okay, so yeah, we talked about Mr. Nezer and Mr. Lunt already, but the French peas, again, based on pre-existing characters. In this case, it's the Frenchman from Monty Python. It's another property that Phil was inspired by when he was younger and tried to incorporate that into his show. Um, and what's especially bizarre about the French peas, not that they get redeemed, because they don't really at the end of Dave and the Giant Pickle, as well as um Josh and the Big Wall. They just kind of run away and hide after those. Which you can say is the defeat for characters in a show like VeggieTales. But the thing is, so if VeggieTales is racist because French peas, I can understand, obviously racism towards African Americans is definitely exists. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. It's still definitely a problem. Um, Although I say racism towards, I guess I should say hatred spurred on by these feelings is a problem, and I'll definitely explain what I mean by that later. But yeah, hatred towards African Americans is a problem. That's how I should phrase it. And hatred towards Latinos, not going to say that that isn't a problem there, but hatred towards French people, like aren't French people considered, you know, pure-blooded white, Aryan, whatever the term is? Like, are we saying that they're Western European? Western European seems to be the preferred dominant race in America. Are we saying that's bad? That shouldn't be like I don't. Why are you throwing the French peas into this? Especially since the French peas they become much less antagonistic after their first two roles. I don't get it. So yeah, is that the end? No, there's a bit more. This article isn't too long. For the majority of the show's run, both Bob the Tomato, Mr. Nezer, and some of the French peas are voiced by Phil Fisher. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's not like they even got like people of color. They just had one guy doing all of the voices. And in that case, I'd say don't look too deep into that. Just appreciate the fact that you have a guy who is able to do all of these really unique and charming voices in order to charm all of the people who watch the show. That's the point. It's not trying to get any messages across. It's just trying to be entertainment. Well, and wholesome entertainment at that. Ugh. Whatever. I can't. All right. Former VeggieTales writer and narrator Eric Medekas told PJ Media that this show isn't racist. Glad they're putting a counterpoint in this article. Let's see if they go into depth there. All vegetables are part of one race, even though there are many colors. They're all descended from the same parents, the Adam and Eve of vegetables, who foolishly ate a forbidden fruit. Irony? Um, actually, yeah, that's something that you could say ironic there. That's something maybe you shouldn't look too deep into. I guess I'd call that more of a coincidence than irony, but whatever. And screwed everything up for all vegetables that descended from. At least I'm pretty sure that's the story. Okay, that made me laugh. Atlanta article published this year. Just Kevin Guinea said villains are often categorized with foreign accents. Is that it? No, a bit more. He stated during concept after watching The Lion King. All right. All right, knocking the Lion King. Pretty interesting. This was before the live action one came out, so yeah. All right, so that's the Business Insider article. For as far as the article itself, I can't really say that I see a strong tint of bias in here. I was trying to look for articles, when looking for articles to discuss this topic. There's this one. There's a Yahoo one, which you see I have that pulled up here. We'll look at that in a second. And then there was one from a religion website that went into the most detail, but I decided not to look at that one just because I wanted to look at this with something that doesn't wear its bias on its sleeve, something that is just Business Insider is a big name. It's recommending Morning Brew, which from what I've heard is relatively unbiased. In fact, I think I've heard that it shows the bias for specific articles. So in that regard, this is the article I went with, and like I said, I didn't see too much bias in this article. Just bringing up the study from from California State University, and I just it's one of those things where it sounds, I guess I could see someone looking at this on paper and being like, yeah, I guess there's something there to talk about. But they're vegetables, man. Like that's really the main takeaway from this. I don't think. Yeah, I tried to analyze this as much as I can, trying to be as fair as possible. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a green tomato, a green tomato, a green tomato and a red cucumber, a red tomato and a green cucumber and a green asparagus, a lot of green characters. If anything, you could say that Mr. Nezer is green with envy. Ooh. Um, but yeah, that's trying to summarize my overall thoughts without a script in front of me is hard. But yeah, you just listen to this video again, you'll see that I think this is maybe good on paper, but it's ultimately pretty ridiculous when you extrapolate this. So I have the Yahoo article pulled up here. I don't want to go through the whole thing, and it's kind of similar. We have this image here, and I'm pretty sure this is what was actually presented at this whiteness forum. This looks like something that would have been created for a school science fair project in the 5th grade. But anyways, we got this image here from the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything movie, Children in the Church, and here it says, parents rely on TV to teach their kids important lessons like problem solving, friendship, and the Bible. Um, VeggieTales is created by Christians in response of losing the attention of children for secular cartoon programming. Not going to argue with this too far. Racial minorities were usually depicted as villains. Again, went through this. They humanize vegetables using stereotypes shown in accents and racial indicators to identify people of color in the show. I disagree with that. I mean, yeah, you can pick up that these characters have these voices and they can be attributed to the people of these minorities, but it's not, they're not trying to actively shove color in your face. These are just unique voices that Phil heard and thought would be good for his characters. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't think about the fact that Mr. Nezer sounded African American. With Mr. London French peas, admittedly, those were a bit more explicit. But with Mr. Nezer, I didn't think that. So and I don't think, that wasn't the intention, wasn't that we were supposed to think that. Um, in fact, it was even found in the same study that many of the villains characterized by race were found to be irredeemable characters. I blatantly disproved this with Mr. Nezer becoming redeemed in his first 2 appearances, and the French peas later going on to become not even villains at all. So I don't get that. Which is ironic because a major theme in the Bible is Jesus powers the redemption of God's children, which is what happens again at the end of Rack Shack and Benny. And the toy that saved Christmas. I'm not gonna. I'm wearing out my voice on this because it's just so ridiculous. Whiteness in the Bible isn't just seen as power; it's seen as good. Again, how is this? There's no white. It takes place in Africa, in the Middle East. What are you talking about? Um, when kids see the good white character triumph. Okay, so a lot of this, I guess, was in the other article. A child's mind is developing, and they will absorb what is taught to them. White supremacists aim to taint the way children think of people of color. Ever, it will work. Um, I'm not going to disagree with this first part. There are people out there that are unfortunately trying to do this. It's a sad part of our reality. But the people who create VeggieTales are definitely not among them. There's another line marks have made the good messages in the Bible dangerous. Crap. That's absolute crap. Not biting that at all. I think the craziest thing about all of this is that the thing that Phil Vischer is most well known for, are outside of VeggieTales, is the video that he made admittedly, like the year and a half after this came out, during the George Floyd protests, talking about race in America, talking about the injustices done towards African Americans due to our policies like redlining and the war on drugs, the history that led us to the point where there were all the protests after the horrifying murder of George Floyd. Isn't that something? Becoming one of the most vocal, well, not one of the most vocal, but ended up becoming a very influential advocate against racism. If the view count on this video is anything to go by, I mean, looking at his subscriber view count to subscriber count, um, it's just really funny to me. Kind of just I wonder. Phil Vischer has to know about this stuff. Maybe he made a tweet about it. I don't know. I can't say for sure. Um, but yeah, this is just really interesting. Um, so yeah, I'm probably gonna wrap it up soon. Just again, I'm wearing out my voice on just this absolutely bonkers topic. Um, Look, if you want my thoughts on racism, I kind of showed both sides of the coin, and I kind of lean towards the center on this. But if you want my specific thoughts, I would highly recommend the video by the channel Knowing Better called Just Plain Racist. I will have that linked in the description below because I pretty much agree with pretty much everything that he says in that video. So yeah, go again, linked in the description. You'll have to actually go there or find it somewhere else because the thing is, the video is now unlisted. I don't know why. The video is still really, really good. My guess is the video was posted in response to the Right rally, which took place in Charlottesville, Virginia, in 2017, over 6 years ago. What the heck? Where the heck does time go? So maybe he thought that the movement evolved after the George Floyd movement and stuff. So he thought maybe the video is outdated. But I highly disagree. I think the video still holds up tremendously well. So please watch that video and just don't when you're looking at children's media like this, I think it's great to analyze, all the kinds of media that is created. But I prefer to look at it as, through my reviews, as in, is it effectively entertaining? Does it meaning are the visuals hold up? Are the characters likable? Is the story interesting? It's when you go into things that, whether or not trying to figure out whether or not something has some sort of level of commentary or propaganda or implicit message about this stuff that just kind of disgusts me, to be completely honest. Obviously, there's and I say that since VeggieTales is trying to get a message out there, it's very um moral Christians, but the message of VeggieTales is love God and love your neighbor as yourself. And those are great. I mean, each video has its own specific message, but everything basically boils down to that at the end of the day because that's the golden rule of the Bible. And obviously, when media has messages that are very good and very wholesome, I support that. But when you try to say that VeggieTales is something that is very blatantly the exact opposite of that, just based on the voices of the characters, you have to see that there's just nothing to this. This is so incredibly dumb. But with that, I think I'll wrap this video up here. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. Click the red button, subscribe, and have a fantastic rest of your day doing whatever.